I have so many thoughts in my mind regarding my future. Because of this, I have pain in my head. How can I get relief? It's a very interesting and tragic irony that the overwhelming majority of time in our minds we spend in either the past or the future. The overwhelming majority of thoughts, for most of us, it could even be close to 100%. Almost 100% for almost everybody, is all in the past or the future. Now that doesn't necessarily mean 50 years ago. It may only be an hour ago. It may only be, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I can't believe he did that or she did that. Okay, thanks, sweetie. I can't believe this or that. Or it may be only an hour in the future. Oh, I wonder what's for dinner. Oh, I hope I don't get stuck in traffic on the way home. But for most of us, it's a little bit more than that. There's the past that we tend to either romanticize, that, oh, the good old days. Oh, everything was so wonderful when. Or it's looking back with pain and grudges, holding on. And in the future, similarly, there's that anxiety. And even if we're looking at the future with excitement, it's still keeping us out of the present moment. And the message still is, the present moment isn't good enough. Oh, tomorrow will be really great. Well, whether it will be really great or not, I don't know. But by having my mind focused like that, one thing is for sure, which is my present moment isn't really great. Because I'm not even here. So no matter what my present moment may be made up of, maybe it has all of the essential ingredients of greatness. But if I'm not there, because I'm in tomorrow, there's no experience of greatness now. So the tragic irony is we spend almost all of our time in the place, either the past or the future, in which that which we really want, joy, peace, meaning, love, awakening, cannot exist. All of that which is really meaningful, you can only have it in the present moment. You cannot be happy tomorrow or peaceful tomorrow. You can only be happy right now. You can only experience peace right now. Yeah, if I experience it now, chances are I'll bring it into the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. And at some point, right now, will become tomorrow. Or rather, tomorrow will be right now. But I only can experience what I'm looking for right now. And so all of the longing for, fear of the past, the future, keeps me out of the present. And so the anxiety about the future is ensuring that I'm not in peace now. Is it going to make my future better? Probably not. Because the same anxiety I carry in the moment is the anxiety I'm going to carry into tomorrow. And this is the dilemma. And so yeah, you're going to develop pain in your head. And you're going to develop an inability to actually experience that which you want. And this is where all of the spiritual traditions have teachings of mindfulness, of presence, of awareness, of consciousness, of be here nowness. Because right here, right now, is the only chance I've got. And so if you find that your mind is going into tomorrow or going into yesterday, or 10 years from now or 10 years ago, just bring it back. This is the practice of meditation, but meditation is not supposed to only be that which I do when I sit on my cushion and my eyes are closed. Meditation is that which I do when I stand up. That which happens on my cushion prepares me, readies me, trains me, habituates me to be able to carry that meditation into the world. And so when you're meditating and the mind wanders, there's two different ways to respond to it. Way number one, you jump onto where it goes and you follow that thought until who knows how many minutes later or hours later, you realize, oh wait, I was supposed to be meditating. And it's amazing. It begins so harmlessly. Maybe you're meditating and suddenly from the bakery across the street you smell blueberry muffins. And suddenly the mind goes, blueberry muffins. And then it says, oh, that's what I should have for breakfast today, a blueberry muffin. And it says, no, but I was supposed to start a diet last week, no muffins. And then it says, I don't know how I got these fat genes. Anything I eat, it goes straight to my hips. You know, I wish I had had my mom's physique instead of my dad's physique. And God, you know, my brother, he can eat anything he wants. And I remember that time we were 10 and he put away a whole pizza and then an hour later he was hungry again. So you see what happens? Right? One whiff of a scent coming in through the window. And where am I? 10 years old, eating pizza with my brother, bemoaning the size of my hips. Right? But the other option is you're meditating and the smell of blueberry muffin comes in and one part of the mind goes, blueberry muffins. And then you say, the breath. Back to the breath, or back to the mantra. And that's what meditation is about. It's not that the mind doesn't wander. It's that you bring it right back. Right back. The way that it's easy to imagine this and think about it is if you're lying on your back looking up at the beautiful blue sky. And say it's a slightly windy day, and some clouds are blowing across the sky. Well, when a cloud comes, say a cloud starts in this part of the sky, you've got two options of how to deal with those clouds. Option one is you look at it and you say, cloud, and you follow it all the way across the sky. You watch the cloud and watch the cloud, and you wonder, oh, what type of cloud it is, and yeah, we studied that in 6th grade, but I don't remember, and you're with the cloud. The other way is you stay focused on the blue sky. What's happening over there, you're not worried about it. And when that cloud comes right in front of you, you just allow it to pass. And you return your gaze immediately to the blueness of the sky. And this is what meditation is. Those clouds are the thoughts. And the blueness of the sky is the space between the thoughts, consciousness, awareness. It's not about hooking yourself into every distraction or every thought or every smell or every memory. It's about keeping on that space between them, keeping on the breath, keeping on the mantra. And yeah, they'll pass. And what you find slowly is the less attention you pay to them, the less frequently they come. And so when those thoughts come of the future, what's going to happen to me? The other thing some of us do, a lot of us do, is a thought comes while we're meditating, or a fear or a desire, and we say, oh God, I hate this. I can't even meditate properly. Look at that. 10 minutes a day I allocate to meditation. I can't even do that. I'm besieged with fears. I'm useless. I'm hopeless. I'll never get this right. That's just another distraction. It's just another thought. And so when you have any of those thoughts, any of those feelings, any of those fluctuations of the stuff of the mind, because that's all it is. The chemistry, the electricity of the brain, it's just a fluctuation. Different chemical reaction, different electrical pattern. That's all these thoughts are. So as we have fluctuations of the stuff of the mind, we just keep drawing the awareness back to that which is still. And so the same thing happens in life then. When suddenly you're besieged with a fear, instead of allowing yourself to hook your awareness into it and follow it and run with it, and then what, and then what, and then what, and then what? Right? We were talking about fear last night. Every one of them ends in, and then I die. Whether I die of embarrassment or I physically die. If you take whatever you fear to its end result, it's, and then I die. So when we know where the story ends, why bother going there? How many times have you seen that movie? How many times have your worst fears played out on the screen of your mind? You've seen it all. It's like reruns of really bad shows that you didn't even enjoy the first time around. Why watch them again? You know exactly where it's going. Misery. So you just bring it back. Another fear, you bring it back. But there's also specific actions we can take if you've got a very specific concern about the future. Well, the future is being created today. When we speak about predestiny as something predestined, well, sure, but right now is the pre that is determining later tonight, determining tomorrow, determining next month, next year. So right now, what you are thinking, doing, is laying the groundwork for where you're going to be a month from now, a year from now. And so if you've got a serious concern, take care of it. Right? Squirrels that are smart enough to be concerned about what they're going to eat in the winter are the ones who collect the nuts in the summertime. And they bury them. Somehow God's given them this brilliant ability to remember where they buried them. Birds that are concerned about where they're going to lay their eggs, they build nests. So not being worried doesn't mean I don't take care. Doesn't mean I don't plan. Pujya Swamiji always says, failing to plan is planning to fail. So if there's a specific concern that you have, plan for it. But if what you've got is this just general, consistent, kind of low-grade or high-grade anxiety that doesn't serve you and that isn't possible to be planned for because it takes every form. It's not limited to being worried about just one thing. It's worried about the future in general. Just bring the awareness back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. And spend as much time as you can in nature. Because in nature what you see is how exquisitely the universe takes care of the creation. There's this beautiful story of a king who's a very good king, a little arrogant, but he's a good guy. And he builds all sorts of schools and hospitals and homes and whatnot for his subjects. And one day this holy man comes to the kingdom, and the king is walking him through the kingdom. And he's showing the holy man, oh, and this is where I provided for the sick people, and this is where I provided for the homeless, and this is where I provided for the children. The holy man's listening. They walk by a river, and the holy man bends down and he picks up this rock. And he says to the king, tell your men to break this rock. So the king's like, break a rock? All right, holy man's telling him to do it. He tells his bodyguards, soldiers, break this rock. They break it, and inside the rock is this beautiful, nutrient-rich pool of water. And inside that pool of water is this little frog, living very happily in this pool of water. And the holy man says to the king, did you provide this for the frog also? And I love that story because we get into this arrogant sense of somehow it's up to us. I'm the one providing, I'm the one doing, or who's going to provide for me, who's going to do for me, without realizing there is this just exquisite and perfect provider, a capital P provider, who creates pools of water in rocks, who teaches chipmunks and squirrels how to save nuts for the winter time, who teaches caterpillars how to weave cocoons and become butterflies, teaches birds how to build nests. And to realize that we have that same intelligence, that same grace, and to have faith, and to do the work. The bird has to build the nest, the caterpillar has to weave the cocoon, the squirrel has to actually collect the nuts. So it's this beautiful balance between faith in the divine intelligence of the universe, in the divine provider of the universe, and the action. Putting that intelligence into action. To actually plan. And at the overlap of those two is where that anxiety should disappear. Does anyone here have a question? Yes.
How does
Then you.
one stay true to themselves when there's all this outside noise trying to sway that or take that trueness away from themselves?
Beautiful. She said, how does one stay true to oneself when there's so much outside noise trying to pull you off of your truth? Well, the first piece is to even know what my truth is. Most of us don't even know that. For most of us, our path in life, our truth in life, tends to be formed from one of two things. Either I do exactly what I was told to do, whether it was by my parents and family or whether it was by my culture and society. Get a good job, make a lot of money, build your white picket fence, climb that career ladder. Or I do the exact opposite of what they told me to do, in the illusion that somehow that makes me free. But I'm actually just as stuck in both situations, because neither situation is based on actually my truth. Both of them are based on someone else's truth. Either I'm doing what they say, or I'm doing the exact opposite of what they say. Not because the opposite is my truth, but because they've said night, I've said day, that makes me feel free. Then, of course, they say day, I say night. And I keep feeling free until I realize they're playing a trick on me. It's like one of those old parenting, babysitting techniques for little kids where you say, don't eat your peas. And they, when you're not looking, what do? Eat all the peas. But if you say, eat your peas, when you're not looking, what do? They take the peas, they throw them on the floor. So in either case, we are just childishly walking someone else's truth. So the first piece is to know what even is my truth. Not in reaction to society. Not in you've said it so I won't do it. But really, what's my truth? And then to be sure to stay anchored in it. Because there is a lot of noise. And it's more than noise, it's actually also a physical, energetic pull. And so we have to stay grounded. And this is where your spiritual practice is so important. Every morning you get up, you meditate. Even if it's 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Because whether you actually experience enlightenment or not in those 5 minutes, you've connected with yourself. You've at least grounded and anchored in you. And then again, at the end of the day, you re-anchor, you re-ground. One of the ways that I like to think about it, because we do have to play roles in the world. And the roles may not necessarily be our deepest truth of consciousness, right? I mean, you may be a school teacher, for example, and you may have to be a disciplinarian at times, whereas in your heart you're just loving. But there may be times when you have to get a stern voice. You may be the CEO of a company or the president of a company, and even if in your heart there's nothing but love for all of your employees, nonetheless, there may be moments where you have to be stern and strict and even kind of bring on a drama of anger to make things happen. So there are roles that we play. And that's okay. As long as we don't forget that they aren't who we are. And so one way to think about it is in the morning, in your morning meditation, after you meditate, have a little ritual and literally feel like you are putting on your role. Like, zip it on. I'm going out into the world, and here's the role I play. And then do it. Do it fully. Do it sincerely. Then at the end of the day, you come back. And whether it's in a physical shower that you have when you get home, whether it's in a spiritual shower through your meditation, either way. But literally take it off. And that'll enable you, even moving through the world, playing different roles, to stay grounded to your truth. However, that doesn't mean that you should play roles that are in direct conflict with your truth. And this is something that each of us has to negotiate for ourselves. If I know that my highest truth is soul, spirit, love, expansive consciousness, well, I may zip up the role of CEO or president or school teacher or whatever it may be. But I'm not going to zip up a role that is in contrast to what path I know I'm supposed to walk. And this is where, when we speak about universal dharma and then individual dharma. So we've got universal dharma. Is that dharma, that path, that way that we all are supposed to follow. Of waking up, of knowing the truth of who we are, of living with love and truth and oneness. But then we've got our individual dharma. And that varies. And it may even vary during different times of your life. But that's where it's really important to know within you. To anchor yourself in your truth of what's my truth here. And not to just allow the noise of society to tell you, here's how you're supposed to live. Because sadly, the louder it is doesn't mean the truer it is. And this is where you find that ability to be noiseless amidst the noise. Right? Meditation is not about escaping from the noise. It's not about running away from the world. But it's about finding that noiselessness amidst the noise. And then having the courage to walk it, though. Because that's also really important. A lot of us give in to the noise because we're afraid. What if people laugh? What if I fail? What if I walk my truth and I fail? And that's where courage is so important. And that's where my favorite piece of trivia about courage is so important, which is that the word courage, literally the etymology of the word courage, comes from the same root of the word cœur, which means heart. And so courage actually requires an open heart. And it requires meeting the world with an open heart. And so find that. Yeah. Good. Yes.
I would like to know about what's actually intuition, like when you know that this person is nice, or when you feel that this person is not nice, or a situation. You know, it's intuition. Where does it come from? What is it?
Intuition. So sadly, we've all been indoctrinated into the school that says, I have 5 ways of knowing the universe. My sight, my smell, my touch, my taste, my hearing. Those are the 5 ways that I know the universe. That's what we've all been taught. So those are what makes the universe evident to me. How do you know it? Somebody says to you, prove it, whatever it may be. Well, you've got to prove it. It better either be visible or audible or smellable or tasteable or tangible. Science tells us the same thing. It better fit in my beaker or be weighable on my scale or be measured by my tape measure or be seeable in my telescope or my microscope. Then it exists. But of course that isn't true. And we all know that. But because we've been so schooled to believe that, every other way of knowing has gotten lumped into what we call intuition. So intuition has become sort of the umbrella for the sixth sense. But there's not just one additional way of knowing. There's so many ways of knowing. Sometimes that intuition comes to us audibly. Sometimes it comes to us energetically. Sometimes we actually see something. There's so many ways that intuition comes to us. So we've got a lot of other ways of knowing the world, but because science isn't studying them, we haven't yet been given in our educational system names for them, ways of understanding them, ways of heightening them. It's a great tragedy. You get all kinds of testing for your eyes and your ears. You know, you're given all kinds of health tips. Keep your eyes healthy, keep your ears healthy. How many of us get tips on keeping our intuition healthy, keeping that intuition flowing? None of us in school or in regular science. You've got to come into a spiritual world, and even then, in most cases, it's very, very vague. This is what I hope the next wave of science will be. Because, of course, you take something, for example, like love. Now, love exists. We all know it exists. But it defies everything that science tells us. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it. You cannot prove to anyone that it exists. If you say to me, I love you, and I say, prove it, you can't. If I require you to use those 5 ways. Now, if I'm open to an umbrella 6th way, you could prove it to me just by looking in my eyes. And I would know, yeah, you love me. But if I'm shut to that way of knowing, and you are relegated to the tools of science to prove to me that you love me, you will fail. Or to even prove to me that love exists, that you love anyone, that you have ever felt love or known love. So tragically, the most beautiful and important aspects in our life are those that we spend our lives wondering, does this really exist? How do I know? So I really am hoping that a new wave of science will come in and teach us as children. How do we keep those channels open? But in the meantime, when you ask about intuition, of course it exists. It's energy. All of the senses are energy. We see because of light energy. We hear because of sound energy. It's all frequency. Light waves, sound waves. That's how it works. It's all energy. And so intuition is just another form of energy. It's a different way of knowing. But trust it. And the more you trust it, the more heightened it gets. But because it's very intangible and vague, you just want to make sure that it doesn't get mixed up with judgment. That you don't develop I crossed the street because the person on the other side was of a different color than me, and therefore my intuition said he was dangerous and I should cross. So what that is, of course, is cultural stereotypes, discrimination, judgment. But we've all taken it in so deeply that you could feel it as intuition. You could be walking down a street and seeing people of a certain race or of a certain color. And because of what we've been indoctrinated to believe, you could feel something that you think is this beautiful intuition that says cross the street, when really all it is indoctrination. So be careful. And I'm not saying don't cross the street, but don't convince yourself that that was because you had a very deep spiritual intuition that there was something wrong with these people. Don't allow that sense to be co-opted into separation. As you talked about somebody's nice or not nice, don't let your intuition get co-opted into separation. Nice person, yucky person. Don't waste it. Allow your intuition to guide you toward deeper ways of knowing, deeper ways of connecting. And yeah, we do feel it with people. You feel the energy of a person. This is a person with whom our frequency, it works. And we all know this. There are certain people in whose presence you just want to keep staying. And then there are other people in whose presence you can't help thinking, I wonder how soon I can go, or I wonder how soon they're going to go. And that's okay. It's energetic intuition. So yeah, we all have that. But the intuition is able to guide us much deeper than just, I like this person, I don't like this person. It's able to give us a completely different way of knowing. And so it's a sense, or rather senses, to be heightened. The spiritual senses. The real ways of knowing. Because all of that which is really valuable sadly doesn't fit in a beaker. Can't be seen in a microscope.